For my YouTube account.
Yeah.
Oh, please do. Yeah, nice to talk to you guys. Yeah. Yeah. Go well. Cheers. Oh, yeah. So what I was saying is that because I used to believe all the stuff that I was given in mainstream science. But
Well, I've always questioned, but I've always worked out the answers.
Yeah. Well,
for
this
these
one
things.
of new moon silhouetting the sun, being silhouetted by the sun, or creating a silhouette.
Well, it's because, say, the moon's there
Yeah.
and the sun's behind it, but to the side.
Yeah.
So the sun will only shine on that part of the moon,
Okay.
and the rest of it, the dark side of the moon,
Yeah.
will be here.
Okay. So what about at new moon?
At
New moon, when there's no moon for 3 or 4 days of each month, there's no moon at all.
well, if the moon's not in view of the sky, you can't see it. If it's up there and it's not illuminated by the sun, because the sun is hitting the other side of it, then you won't
Okay.
see it either.
So here's a brain teaser for you then. If we can see planets, exoplanets, millions and millions of billions of miles away with our current technology,
Yeah.
why can't we see the moon?
We could if
in
we
that
used the same
2-day
technology.
window? Yeah, so we can't
Yeah.
though. For almost 2 days in
No,
the
that's
new moon
just
phase.
the amount of visible light that's coming off.
Okay, but for 2 days in the new moon phase,
Yeah.
no science has ever recorded observing the moon, ever.
That's not true.
Well, you can go and check that for yourself. But we can't see the moon.
I think it will be
In the new
there.
moon
There
phase.
will be some light coming from the moon, because it will be light from the Earth reflected back towards us.
But this is the thing: is that curiously, honestly, you can't see it for 2 days. And did you know that science has proven that the the light that the moon reflects or shows on Earth is actually lighter, colder, than sunlight. In other words, like if you're in the shadow of the moon,
Yeah.
or something's casting shadow, it's warmer there than in the direct moonlight. So the light of the moon is actually a cold, decaying light rather than a warm, healing light. So I say to people, I think there are two opposite kind of lights, opposite ends of the electromagnetic
Yeah. I
spectrum.
mean, what proof have you got for that? Because I've not heard that, and I've not seen
My
it.
personal, lots of people have done experiments. My personal proof is that I've taken a laser pointer and done the same thing, where on a full moon night, I've taken areas of shade and cool and direct moonlight and found that they are absolutely a degree, sometimes 2 degrees colder, where the moon is striking rather than in the shade of that place, in the same outdoor area.
Yeah.
But there are
2 degrees.
Well, if it's a warm light that is
that would
reflected-
be a massive effect, wouldn't
Yeah.
it? If
But there are many more proper scientists are coming out and saying this now. It's not even hidden. I don't think it's that hidden. Honestly, I was brought up on all of this stuff. I know that I didn't want to let go of the moon landings in 2015, but there's so many things that are wrong with that. Like, here's this: if you and I are going to the moon, right, and we're going to go into a vacuum environment, we're going to go and test our suit in a vacuum here on Earth before we go into space. Well, they've never done that. They've never put a man in a spacesuit in a vacuum chamber on Earth, which is
have they not?
yeah, this is it. They tried once, and the man passed out partway to
I
getting to
wouldn't want to
vacuum.
try it. Yeah.
Well, but if you wouldn't want to try it, then you couldn't go to space.
Yeah.
Because you have to have a suit that's suitable for the
Are
environment.
you sure they haven't?
I'm certain.
Have you searched?
I've searched, and if people who are anti-flat Earth, as they call themselves, they would definitely be showing us this footage all the time and saying, "Look, here it is."
Yeah,
But
because they've got those big chambers, haven't they? Where
have.
they do the.
But do they put
Yeah.
a man in a suit? You'd think.
I don't know.
You'd think to test the suit's workability in different situations, they would say, "Let's put you in there. I know we're going to test you in the pool."
I suppose the difference is because they've got to bring it all the way from standard sort of atmospheric pressure, and they've got to suck the air out.
Yeah.
So the suit doesn't just have to withstand a vacuum, it has to withstand the change from this to a vacuum. But then I suppose that's the same thing as going to an airlock and going out into space.
Yeah,
isn't it?
that's what I was thinking as you were talking.
Yeah.
You're describing that reality. And the
So I
thing
don't
is
know.
that they've never taken us in space. They've never taken us with a camera in an unbroken sequence from the pressurized cabin to the airlock to the outside. It's always in different sets of that, rather than we can show you that in one.
I'll look
unbroken
at that.
footage.
That's
Now, here's another
interesting.
thing about the spacewalks is that that the suits that they use to test at the swimming pool, they got a zero buoyancy, or this massive swimming pool in Texas where they got a version of the ISS underwater. And so they go and test and train and do that in the exact same suit that they do their spacewalks in. Now, the pressure of the dive. Yep, there is nothing different. They use the same suit. And they say they will never believe that.
Well, you would have thought it would have the same hinges and everything.
Hinges, no problem.
It wouldn't necessarily be the same suit, I would have thought.
But I mean, you'd understand it'd have to be perfectly sealed. So I get that.
Yeah.
Right. But that in a diving situation, 2 or 3 bar pressure would be pushing in on the suit, whereas in space it would be pulling out on the suit. So when we look at the footage of them,
the pressure would be inside, wouldn't it?
Yeah. So when we look at them doing these spacewalks, we notice.
So what are you saying though? I mean, are you saying it's not possible to have a suit that will survive in a
vacuum chamber? If we could, we'd probably do it.
Okay.
We'd probably do it.
Well, I'll have to look that one up because I've not looked it up.
Even if, as we contend, that there has to be a fix in thermodynamics, you have to have a fixed barrier to generate pressure. You have to put your gas in a canister, your deodorant, your soap pop or whatever. And once you break that canister, everything diffuses and will go into the atmosphere, right?
Yeah.
Well, we say that there has to be a roof on the place that we live, because without it, then our atmosphere would be sucked into this violent vacuum that they say is there. They tell us the gravity and the this and
gravity,
that and so on. But you've got no deodorant companies selling you a gravity-contained deodorant. It has to be in an aluminium.
No, they wouldn't have enough force.
Because in reality, whatever gravity is cannot do that. I mean, if you think about the
it does it with water. So why can't it do it with gas? Well, gravity keeps water on the ground. So why can't it keep gas on the ground, but just to a much weaker level?
Well, okay, I accept that water stays on the ground, but I don't accept that it's underneath us, upside down in Australia. But how's helium?
What about gases? If you get a gas, you get certain types of gas which would drop down to the floor.
Yes.
So some gases are heavier than others.
Correct. That's their density in the environment, right?
It's their weight, isn't it?
It's density and buoyancy.
Yeah.
So more than weight and mass can get a little bit kind of confusing. But if you put those same gas into a swimming pool, it would obviously return to surface. Yeah. There it would float, and then lighter gases. I want to say about helium. How helium, just has no problem with, flying away without any problem with gravity, right? But then we're meant to believe that at 100, 200, 300,000 feet, all of a sudden gravity can grapple it again, hold it again, and stop it from moving.
No, that's the difference. That's the gas is fighting to get down to the ground, and obviously the heavier ones get further down easier and push the other ones out the way.
And where did they go?
Where did what go?
Where do they go when they go up?
They go above, and they try and get down, but they can't because the heavier items are already there.
Okay, but if we understand what a vacuum is doing, the one that the NASA uses is like an 8 feet thick wall. It's all reinforced and whatnot, because that vacuum is doing everything it can.
Yeah, it's gradual.
Apart,
It's gradual, isn't it?
Is it?
It's a gradual. I mean, it gradually becomes a vacuum. So atmosphere goes a long, long way out.
So we don't, but then we're still back with the problem of there's no fixed barrier between a vacuum and a non-vacuum.
No, not really. No, there's. I mean, even in deep space, there's probably.
Deep space?
Well, I don't know.
Let me
okay.
Deep space
well,
is to go to the forest.
Sorry?
Deep space is the forest for me.
That's for you.
The idea for me that space is even a thing other than the space that you and I are sharing. I think that everything in nature points to it must have a lid or an enclosure. Like every fruit, every tree has a skin, a bark, a peel, a shell. Everything in nature is contained, because if that container is broken, then that thing spoils whatever's inside of it. That's what we find.
Well, yeah, that doesn't really mean anything to me. It doesn't mean anything to me, because I don't consider a can the same as something else. Yeah, you know what I mean. If you've got a can of beans or something, I won't compare that to gas. What I mean?
Yeah, but that's not really a natural thing. But obviously, once the can is broken and the air gets in, it starts to go older quicker. You know that.
Yeah.
Right. So, but all I'm saying is what we postulate or hypothesize in space or outer space is things that we don't see in reality, in our reality. So in our reality, as I was saying, is we see things with skins and needing particular balloon. The helium balloon must have its bag around it, otherwise it's immediately going to dissipate into the environment. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that helium as it's risen up to the top of the
And
atmosphere.
then it would fall because all the lighter gas would escape and all the heavier gas would land on it. And,
So, okay, so let's just agree to disagree that I think that we have to have a container. I think that there is a roof, and from my perspective, that the rocket program can't get out. So they guys take these photographs of these rockets from Cape Canaveral going on a sort of a hyperboloid thing where it doesn't seem to be going up anymore. It's now going sideways and perhaps even starting to head down. They would tell us that that's it going around.
Well, it's a rotation of Earth,
you know, trying to get up the spin and all this sort of shit. But this is now stuff that you and me cannot prove. Sitting around at the pub having a beer, what can you and me test and prove? Well, I can't prove that anymore, or I can't. I can tell you what I've seen on TV, but that doesn't make it real, just because I've seen it on TV. And so I think that it's very possible, just like they've done with religions, to create information that people totally believe in, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's true. There's a billion people in one religion.
Well, that's it. I mean, a lot of people do believe in that.
You don't necessarily need to believe in one or any of those and still know that, there's a billion people there that have been misled by someone. Now, who's doing that, and why would they be doing that? Well, I say to people that the religion started losing its grab, its hold on people. Same with government. So they gave us this other frightening.
So you're not
thing.
Religious in any way?
I wouldn't consider myself to be religious. You were thinking I was probably going to throw some.
No. I mean, often this sort of theory it comes along with religion.
It does,
It does.
Because, well, for me, actually, truthfully, when in 2015 I've heard the flat Earth, I was like, shit, I used to joke with the preachers when I was a kid. I got a lot of Bible study. And I used to tease them about their Bible being so out of date. It used to say that the Earth is not moving, it's on pillars, it's got a small sun and moon, and blah blah blah. It's got a roof. All this stuff is in the Bible. So I used to tease the preachers because I was buying the science. I was saying, no, the science is right. You guys, your book is so out of date. So when I first heard this, 2015, I was like, maybe the book was right after all, But after reading it and spending some more time thinking, I was like, but there can also be a lot of disinformation in that book, and it's about, for me, what science does to me is take me out of being important. See, does
it give you any answers though?
What this?
Does this give you any answers?
Well, flat Earth is more like a gateway. Now, let's say we've all been caught in Disneyland, and I've got the ticket for you to finally leave Disneyland. Now, this is just the ticket to the exit. Once you get out, you now need to go and work the shit out outside of Disneyland all for yourself. So it starts a journey.
But then that's also another thing that you can't know in a pub.
No.
You know what I mean? It's like that's just like a theory that you'd have to trust someone else on.
Yeah. Well, okay. So I had share a personal experience of mine in 2015, May 2015. I was on a book tour. I wrote a book about my time in the Angolan War in 1987. I was on a book tour in 2015, and this guy gave me DMT. Have you heard of ayahuasca?
Sorry.
Ayahuasca? Have you heard of psilocybin as a means of having sort of out of body experiences?
No.
Okay. So
what is it?
I did this plant medicine called ayahuasca in 2015, which is for me was like a death experience, and I was a total atheist. I was 45, I think, 46 at the time. Total atheist, man.
You don't look much older than that now.
I'm 55 now.
Okay.
I will be next week or something. But thanks. Thank you. I was a total atheist, and I went in on this experience, and I smoked this DMT, and in 6 minutes I had this experience that showed me that I'm an internal being, and that there is a God or a higher power or something much more magnificent sitting behind you and me in this whole game here, and that whatever this is, we are only here for like a test, if you like, or a journey or an experience, but we are not this meat suit that you're carrying around with you is not the higher you that is sitting inside, or say like the Christ is inside of you, or the light of God is inside of you. Well, that's true for each of us. But I think that this game tries to dull that. And I got given this insight in 2015 when the first words I said when I came out was, it's true, there's a God. Those were the first words. And my dying mother in 2011 could not get me to, she just wanted me to say, I believe in Jesus and stuff like that. Because she was like, then I'll see you, when you die and stuff like that. That's what she was, and I still wouldn't go that there's a God. I wouldn't say that, Now I think that there have been maybe great teachers along the way, Muhammad and Jesus, and these people might have been real. Then they might have been trying to say, hey, listen, wake the fuck up. This system, these courts, these schools, these governments, these churches, these preachers and whatever, they're lying to you, they're misleading you, they're sending you, with a pack of thieves or a den of wolves or whatever. That's what he was trying to say, or these guys are trying to say, and that the closest you can get to God is actually within you, that the temple of God is above your ears.
Yeah.
And even the Muslims say that you want to get to, the closer you can get to God is through the jugular vein, or it's like by the jugular vein in your neck. That's how close God is to you. So I think that each of us carries that spark, but this game does its damnedest to never let you know that, and it has all these tricks. Religion.
Yeah, but I mean, but this doesn't really tell you that.
This doesn't tell you that. My wife was saying to me, we really have to do something about my poster situation.
No. I mean, this is interesting. It makes people think.
For me, flat Earth was such a smack in the face, right? It was just like, I knew about 9/11 and other things by this point, but for me it was such a smack in the face. It was like, shit, if people knew this big truth, it would stop them buying into all the shit that we've seen over the last few years.
You see, I don't agree with this.
That's okay.
Because when I look into it, I do, like I say, I find my answers
satisfied.
I do. Because I mean, I've looked into it, and I've thought about it, because every time I've heard one of these things, I thought, wow, that's interesting. Yeah. Because I'm open to hearing different ideas, but I do look into them, and I mean,
did you know
one of me was the flights. Someone mentioned that you couldn't get a flight from. Basically, they said if you look at a picture of a flat Earth, if you look at every flight path that you'll get on a globe, they'd all go in a straight line.
A lot of them.
And I found that quite interesting. And
a lot of them,
obviously, it's like the Australia to South America sort of thing.
Yeah.
And I think I eventually found one flight that sort of disagreed with that. So I was,
so
for a while I was thinking that's interesting.
Yeah. Well, I'd continue.
But obviously, they don't want to go too close to they don't want to be down the bottom there.
At the Antarctic, why?
Because it's remote, and if something goes wrong, or I don't know. I mean, that's a theory. Yeah, if something goes wrong, then they've got nowhere to land.
The southern oceans are so massive, so vast. They're like bigger 10 continents big, aren't they? They're so huge that when they take flights down in the southern region, there are a lot of times they're off radar, which is why they lost that Air Malaysia plane. They didn't know where it had gone and stuff like that. So I don't know that theory holds a lot of water for me. And planes are so good nowadays that to fly under the South Pole in order to get from Oz to South America makes a lot of sense to me. I can't think of good reasons other than maybe it isn't what they say it is. Because even when I was a kid, a rugby fan, we had a rugby tournament, Southern Hemisphere rugby tournament, started to include Argentina at one point. And I was like, why are they flying them all the way to London to get them to us here in South Africa? That made no sense to me at all. You can now fly, I think, direct from South Africa to Argentina. But the weird thing is that the flight there is longer than the flight to London, and yet the distance, according to the globe, is shorter. So there's a lot of things that I think, I mean, this is conspiratorial, but I think they might have hidden high-end technology in some of the planes that can do these super long flights on a flat Earth model. On the flat Earth map, by the way, that same map that you're thinking of is used as the United Nations logo. Did you know that?
Oh yes, I've seen that.
Yeah, so it's quite an interesting thing. I'm not saying that map is right either, but it is an interesting thing. And there's a guy I know, he's done a book. He wrote a book on 15 or 20 emergency landings that disprove the globe, where it's like, we're flying from this place to this place, and all of a sudden a lady gives birth or someone dies or whatever, and they land in like Hawaii or in like Alaska, and you're like, what the hell? That's nowhere near the flight route, but the pilot would have put down in the nearest possible place, right? So, and then when you put those onto a flat projection, you go, shit, that's actually right on, pretty much on the line of that flight on a flat Earth map. So I mean, even with the World Cup recently, the guys, Argentinians who won the World Cup, they couldn't just fly straight to Argentina from there. And you think, shit, that's an easy flight, surely, for the World Cup winners to get on a plane that could take them there. So the way it's
a rare one, though.
Well, and I think I've seen quite a lot of them. For me, though, curvature of water was the killer, because I grew up near the sea, and I was out looking at things overseas for a lot. And when I heard that at 10 miles I'm meant to have lost 60 feet of curvature, I was like, no. I've seen 10 miles. I've seen coastlines 10 and 20 miles up the coast, where that's meant to be. No, that's already over the curve of the water. You shouldn't be able to see the street lights and cars and things like that at the beach. And I'd seen too much of that. I was like, no, there's no curvature over the water. And when I started to logically think about it, I was like, yeah, no lake that I've ever gone on, I thought, yeah, this is the high end, that's the low end, and it's going,
But light does bend as well, doesn't it?
Light can bend like in
with the atmosphere, the thickness of the atmosphere,
with
and
moisture and so on. Like when you put a pencil in a glass, the light will bend that. But I don't. That's like some kind of miraging thing. Yeah. I don't really accept that as a thing.
Because you have seen the pictures where you see a boat floating above the sea, haven't you? And that's
superior
sort of
mirage, I believe that's called. Yeah. I mean, that's just to do with the way that the light is being.
Anyway, I'm going to be in trouble because I've taken a job and I better do it.
Oh, you're a taxi?
Yeah, but no, I'm doing a delivery job as well.
Okay, okay.
Just taking that.
What's your name?
So. My name's Steve.
Really nice to meet you, Steve.
Nice talking to you.
Yeah, I'm Dave.
Cheers.
All the best, man. Hi, guys. That's the first time I had a chance to look at the screen. I've been talking. I was talking a bit before a few people before I managed to get the camera going. So, hello. It's Wojnek. Hey, bro. How you going, man? I'll turn the camera around. I put some chalk down, bro. So, which is nice. Now, what's nice about this chalk? Okay, I have chosen a Sunday, but this chalk will be here tomorrow, and people are going to come to work. No, really, I need to put no to that as well. And yeah, this is, in terms of flyers, I think this is what I would rather have in something more to do with the divine, but I can't help but have flat earth related stuff, because it is so compelling, and it obviously gets people, paying attention. Thanks. Yeah, I can't read that. Given a big enough container, the light gases will sterilize. In a container, of course. Yeah, of course. We can do that experiment in, like a test tube situation, with different gases. We could probably do that in hospital. But you take the lid off that container and poof, up they go. Until obviously they can get contained by the meta system here. But that's not getting drawn off. Anyway, I'm not looking to argue with guys. No one has ever, and Dave, no one has ever properly demonstrated any earth curvature. Yeah, sure. Nice to see you guys anyway. Singe man. Yeah, I'm going. Pink elephants. Brian Staley Patreon streams. Yo, is that you, Brian? It might be. I don't know. That might be. Boy, so if you're still listening, mate, a friend of mine in Holland, she had the bailiffs at her door the other day because of unpaid council tax. So I have tried to give her some pointers and someone to talk to here, a guy called Peter Wilson. He seems like a nice guy and he's pretty hot on all of this kind of stuff. But maybe you know somebody in Holland there, Nederlander, who could help her with sort of more local kind of stuff. So, boy, if you're, I'm looking at the cameras this side. It's there. The camera's down below. That footage was alright. It's a bit cold, but it's not freezing. And as you can see, I've got this. Yeah, so send me an email, Wojnek, if you can, if you do, at Trinity4Man at Gmail. Underground, put on some fat. And I'm finding I'm less tired. You need to fatten. Yeah, but well, I mean, underground. Look, it is winter, man. So you're meant to have a little bit of. That's what. Wow, you fatten up the pig for the winter, you know. So. And yeah, diet is diet. I mean, the food we eat is an interesting thing, isn't it? And there's so much bloody information, one way and another. Should we eat this? Shouldn't we eat that? Is it wrong to eat this? You know, are you going to ascend less quickly? Hey, Squirrel Sniper, nice to see you, Nathan. Nice to see you, Holistic Media, and Brian Stavely. That's the Brian Stavely. It is you. I sign in. Okay. I hope that's all going well for you, Brian Stavely. And Squirrel, I hope things are going well for you, bro. Over in Blues. I was going to get together in Glastonbury, the English guys. Yeah, I was hoping to get together in Glastonbury later this month. So I went on a little sightseeing tour there the other day, 2 days ago, and saw Lisa, and I didn't really fix anything other than I heard that what's his name? Guy does all the music stuff. You know what I mean? Anyway, he's a flat earther. Quite a high profile, actually. Anyway, he's doing a gathering. Not a gathering, I think it's like it's like a hall. People come and talking kind of event in the middle of the month in February. So I thought what I would do is arrange with the people that I know. Why don't we go down to Glastonbury that weekend for one of those days and have a little hangout. Just do what Brian Stavely does. Have a little, bonhomie. No alcohol involved. Just hang out. Mark Devlin, thanks Tony. Do you have some advice on handling the Dutch way? Thank you. Let me know who you speak of, please. This is a friend of ours called Marika. She is quite a long time subscriber and supporter of this channel. She and Andrea built up quite a friendship over the year or two that we've been in touch with her. So she's kind of doing this all by herself. Her partner is often away, is not really into any of this stuff. So I can pass you her number because I'm sure she enjoy a little bit of support from. Very, very quiet here, guys. So I just wanted to do a little bit. I am going to choose a busier place. This town is dead quiet. I came here on the Tuesday. The last time I did the activism was the Tuesday, and it was even quieter. It was as quiet as it is today with this flat. Here, I think I can't help myself because this is just the thing that really gets under people's nose, and you want them to kind of go home and talk about it. We've got passers by here in cars. So hopefully it's big enough for them to see. I might colour it in a little bit. Hey guys, how are you doing? This is not a globe. Oh, this is hard.
God is assume you are God.
Well, Earth is flat. It's not a globe. You can't prove we live on a globe. Earth is not a spinning rock. Rocks don't float. Tell your science teacher that. Rocks don't float. Nor do gas giants. Gas giants dissipate. Rocks don't float. Rocks don't float. The moon is not a rock. Rocks don't float. Remember that. Rocks don't float. It's a little bit, can be a little bit hairy there with the youngsters, because obviously we don't really want to upset the apple cart. Rocks don't float. These guys came in for a chat earlier on. I wonder if they wanted to have a little nibble at the cherry. Anyway, Boynak, yeah, that'd be nice if we can do that. Good luck, guys. All the best. No, they don't want any more of the good news, as it's told. But you know what? I do think that we have to. This is the thing, and I'm glad that my friend Brian is listening, because I think this is the thing: is that actually we're meant to be not actually in conflict. I know it sounds like I'm fucking turning coats or whatever, but I don't think we're meant to be in conflict. It's like people are meant to work it out in their own time. It's not saying like shouldn't I be doing this? Maybe should I be like staying at home with my family rather? Right now, playing with my son. We're on the trampoline a lot these days. You know, should I? That stands out nicely, huh? Wow. I do know. I do feel compelled to do something and to help people along the way, But if I'm in conflict, and I've met a few flat earthers, including myself, in conflict. If I'm in conflict, then how will I ever kind of, you know what I mean? Like even if when we die and we go back, doesn't matter what you did, kind of thing. It's fine. Whatever. So even if you do nothing or you just do shit in this life, it doesn't bother. It seems to me. I lost my thread. Sorry. The camera's down there. That's right. The camera down. It seems to me that we are meant to. No, it seems to me that if we want to. Yeah, that's it. If we want to have the journey, have the peace, have the harmony, have the a beautiful life in nature, and then I think that we can have that. If we want to stay in the conflict and all of that, then we can stay there. And look, there's some globe killers right there, anti-gravity devices. Anti-gravity devices. 18. If we, it's like, and the judgment of others, by the way, when we judge others, I heard this guy talking last night, who was a near-death survivor, and his message was that do hope I get to speak to a few more people. It's quiet on the stand, but sorry guys, I have lost my train of thought. I do think that love is the thing. I saw that message. Oh, there's a lot of background noise. Right, it's quiet with loud traffic. Is it raining? Yeah. Pink chalk. Yeah, and I want to thank Adam Meekin for the talk, by the way, and for a few other things. So thanks, Adam Meekin. Thanks, man. Did everything good? Best of luck. Yeah, where are you going? Love it. Yeah. Well, I don't know whether you're being ironic or what. Yeah, loved ones. Yeah. So that was what I was saying. Noticing me. Yeah. Well. Yeah. There's days when I'm like, oh, take me back to South Africa, please, because I really think those Africans. I'm generalizing, of course. It's not a clear shot, but the Africans are far more willing to step away from this supermaster that we have above us. And if in selling this message, I do so in a way of love, not in a way of anger, then I feel like that's good, better for my soul. Like when I wake up in the morning or when I go to bed at night, that's better for my soul. Good evening, folks. Find out that the Earth is not a globe. You won't want to hear it. Earth is flat. No, that water levels. I got lucky. Sorry about that. Yeah, guys. Evening, my friend.
I'm all good with that, thank you.
Oh yeah, Earth is still flat though. Water's level. Yeah, I mean, and because if you end this test angry, let's just say there's the possibility that you have to run it again. You know, I don't know if you hear that, because there's some youngsters having fun. But that you have to run it again, you know. I don't know, and I don't do this because I think I'm not on the mission because, there you go. Yeah, you are divine. This will be here tomorrow. I don't think there's any rain forecast, so hopefully there'll be those Monday morning. Those of you who used to be on my old channel, you remember I used to drive into London at 3 in the morning sometimes. Late at night doing a little bit of delivery for Nando's. And I would talk in places that, we're like, can't wait for them to come and see. It goes through here tomorrow and reads this message, and you always wonder, did anybody do anything with it? Or was it a part of what they needed to hear on the journey to self thing? And selfishly, you know, do I want for the world to become a more loving place that, you know, that nourishes and cares and grows for it? Yeah, absolutely. But as I said before, you know, opening the gates of the Shawshank prison in one day is not a good idea. As much as I think that I don't mean that. I mean on my right hands. Yeah, like you open the Shawshank prison, then you know, well, you hear people themselves don't want to know that they're divine. This idea that we're divine is not even, and look at me, I was an atheist 10 years ago. Pretty rooting for Christopher Hitchens and Sam Smith, is it? Sam Harris? These guys were my, intellectual idols, if you like. So, wasn't I a clever boy following these guys? That big chap I spoke to a little while ago, he sort of came in on a conversation. I was having a great conversation with two youngsters, and I was making great headway. I didn't get the live stream running in time, unfortunately, to catch the conversation with them. But it was pretty, I thought fruitful in terms of getting into the new. Frome, I think it's the city, yes, that's where we are. Frome, I am. I don't know if it has city status, I don't think so. I think it's a cathedral, but I might be. There's a nice, quite impressive church just up there we went to have a look at the other day. Couldn't go inside. No, we did go inside. And it's got like all the trappings of previous iconic civilization, if you like, or people that were here before. What do you guys think? Do you think that we should be concerned about everything washing away in 20 years, like archaic says? I know that there's just a never-ending kind of it's all going to wash away. So, in some senses, does it make any difference? We won't get peace in 20 years. The can is going to be kicked down the road. The majority is still so easy to control with the little black box in your hand or the lounge. Hello. Little fella there. Yeah, so what do you guys think? We still run out of time. Remember, it's almost a year since the solar floater event that we did. And that was on this channel, actually, some of that footage. And there was a strong body of support for plasma apocalypse and the end of times coming in 2022. They were really sure about it. In fact, I was trying to do a presentation on electromagnetic universe theory, and the noisy boys were more interested in talking about how deep underground bases were what you needed to be doing this year, 2022. That didn't prove to be accurate, did it? Background noise is hard, and so I want to hear what you're saying. Okay. Well, you know what? I could actually. I don't know if this would help. I don't know if that helps to cut out some of the background noise. Why don't you let me know? I've unplugged my microphone, which is directional. But I appreciate that you so much want to hear what I have to say. It's not something that I take for granted, I'll be honest with you. I know obviously there's some people that are listening in, but it is nice to hear that. Here's Squirrel Snipers weighing in with, I think the next generation will either conform to the new world ideas or become new nomads roaming the countryside and mountains. Oh, I like that idea. Oh, that's better. Okay, cool. Hey, Mark. Thanks very much for that money. I really appreciate it. Someone else sent me $15, but his name is not with me right now. But if you're that person, then I'm really grateful for that too. It doesn't pay well, this current career path of mine. It does seem that there are other ways to earn a living. Crust. Well, I'm certainly not earning a living, but if you feel like you're compelled to send me some money, but someone else probably has taken care of that. It's not as I don't draw that much. I haven't had that much support that I can say, don't send something if you can, if you want to. It would help. And I mentioned earlier about maybe doing something in February this month in Glastonbury, which would be nice to have some, just to hang out, whatever, just meet up with some folks. It's a very quiet day here in Frome. It is a Sunday. What are you guys up to, other than watching me? Is there more coming down the pipeline? Or I hear that American puppet Biden is deciding that he might not allow the unnailed, unjabberwockied to enter the shores of the corporation. I don't know whether that's just fanfare and political kind of gameplay, or it's real. But I do feel like there's more in the works, like there's got to be more coming our way. Other than the Ukraine thing. And I shouldn't say other than that, because I sometimes speculate that's this is how Third World War. I saw a headline the other day, 3 days ago, all the newspapers in the UK were saying, send them the wings of love, or something like that. The wings of something. Zelensky needs the wings of love, and a picture with Zelensky, the Ukrainian puppet, shaking the Charles, the guy who took over from the old lady who died recently. Used to call her the Queen. That this guy in Ukraine now needs the UK's aircraft. He now needs this justification for wings of love to support the Ukrainian effort. If this isn't war by proxy, it's crazy what's happening there. Hey Martin, my friend, and no one's flower. Oh, people I know, quite a few people I know. Nice to see you. Good work pulling. I see my eyesight's not perfect yet. Pulling up the coast. Observations. Oh, showing everyone that pays attention that there is no. And he wanted to argue for refraction or with a bending of light. And how it goes. It'll just be a continual. Awesome. Someone's taking a picture from the bus. There. I got a picture of her taking a picture of me. Awesome. So that's good. Actually taking another one. Please make it clear and put it on all your social media sites. Please. Yeah, nice to see you. No One's Flower, Nora. Hope things are going well for you. And Martin, of course. Yeah, Martin, did you hear me say earlier about Glastonbury? What's his name again? It was written down from the earlier on. Mark Devlin. He's got an event going on in Glastonbury this week. No, this month. It might be. Lisa wasn't sure. She was going to send me the info on that. Someone might already know. But Mark Devlin is having a function, an event, or whatever. So I thought we could, all kind of go down there. I mean, say hello to these guys, because I assume a lot of them will be flatties anyway. Not all. What do you think, Mr. Liedka? Warping space time. Yeah, Brian. Yeah. Matt Devlin. Is there a Mark Devlin? It's my eyesight. Yeah, okay, well, all these friends are getting together here and having a little soiree, you guys are drinking coffee or beer, I don't know. But I'm standing here in the cold and there's no punters, and I'm not complaining about that. I came down here knowing that it was quiet, but, it's like anything else. If you haven't done it for a while, you don't, on thinking that you're going to be, have all your ducks in a row and all your conversations down. So there's an element of, working the kinks out of the system. And then, yeah, that's what this is, and also even taking time away from the family. The family we are become such a tight unit, and, the journey that we've been on is, epic. Freaking epic. Let me tell you. Horrifyingly epic. I don't wish it on anybody, but it is what it is, and I'm here still telling the story and hopefully growing in my own way, growing in my own love energy, if I can put it like that, love energy, so that it's that there's a soul growth here, and that it's not just talking about flat Earth and we've been lied to. Like I said to Alex Michael on the stream last time, when he popped in, I said, I think everybody's where they are at. But if I was to write another album, or to kind of say to him, like I've never written an album, but if I was to say to him, if you say to me, what do you think I should write on? I'd be like, okay, so what are we doing about it? What is the better vibration? He knows about 432 hertz. What is the better vibration for me to be in order to live my best life, and be my best version? And that's all. What the world does, in a way, to hell with it. I mean, of course I care, but it's like, I'm just trying to make a point, It's really your life that matters so much. And if you give your life to football or truth, if you give it all away to that, and not in a way that's like, there's nothing wrong with going to the football or doing truth, but if that's where your focus is at, and then it's away from the I am, or the center, the you, the you universe. So, I had a conversation with a guy. Some of you guys will like this, and I'll have to speak in code. But when I ramped up the other day, I had a conversation with a guy who, two homeless guys actually, and I honestly would have given them money if I had any at the time. But the guy had only really become homeless in the last few months, and since his partner, 56-year-old lady, had suddenly had suddenly up and got a very bad cancer. Subaru. Had suddenly got a very bad cancer. And on the 9th of March last year, she was given after only discovering that she had the cancer 3 or 4, maybe 5 months earlier, so in late 2021, she discovers that she has this cancer, and on March the 9th they tell her that it's terminal, and she passes away 3 or 4 months later, 56 years old. Now, we all know people that, can get cancer at 56, so it's not like but she hadn't had a history of it before. It was very sudden onset. So I said to him, there's an interesting story going around that you might want to look into, to do with, the certain dates that people have turned up for certain treatments, shall we say. And the timing just seems to me to coincide with the possible being in line, as she was in her 50s. She would have been, fairly early in line for the happy news, or the good news, the freebies from our friends down at the State Department. She might well be another victim, or another statistic of the deception of 2020 and everything that's come since that. I was listening, I'll confess, I was listening to a guy called Dr. John Campbell yesterday. I've listened to him a few times, I must admit. He's such a normie, it's hard to keep my breakfast down, but he does do some of the sort of data research that I would do if I had the time, and if I had enough people to watch it, that it would make it worth doing it. It would be bread and butter. But he's looking at the excess deaths in Europe in 2020 and in 2022, and most European countries are between 15 and 40% excess death increase in the year over the 5 years up to 2019. Germany had 40% increase. I think Netherlands, if you're still there, also in the 20s or 25% increase in traditional trajectories for mortality. So the numbers are not stacking up in favor of those who decided they want to be mandate Marys and go ahead and insist that their neighbors slap nappies on their face. It's one of those things that also causes anger, and also causes us to be upset. And I do think that I do think that it's going to continue to put poison in the well, and upset people so much that we are going to want to tear each other apart, because it's like those people who bought the juice, they don't want to give up the juice. I mean, in fact, they didn't buy it, did they? They got given it. Those that got given the juice, they don't want to give it up. I mean, I know some have. I know there's plenty of stories of people who have, but I can assure you, only those that were around in the old channel might have heard me tell the story about when we were in Jason's camper van in 2020, the first year of stupidity. We were staying at a flat earther's place in Lincoln, and I found a trampoline about 6 houses down the road. So I went and spoke to the family, and long and short of it is that they were actually, the husband we had a nice chat. He was well up for it. Then the wife came out and got chatting, and I ended up kind of having to spill the beans and say, listen, the V is not good. And she said to me, so what, your child hasn't been? And so I'm like, yeah, not at all, not once, never, no, zip, zero, not a bit of it. And she said, never bring your child around this house. Never bring your child around him. Pretty bad, eh? So those people, they'll be doubling down. They were like, no, I need even more. I think we'll boost the squared. I'm packing the banners up, by the way. But I'm leaving my chalk behind. A little memento of my time here. I use these refuse bags as props today. Let's see, I've got a couple more people walking by before I make those. No, they're turning around on me. Well, not on me. They got other stuff to do. I'm sure it's not my... But yeah, don't you think that if I was standing here, do you remember our friend, and I really care for Dave. I care for Dave very much. His surname escapes me at this moment in time. But he called himself Zoom Truth. Still does, I suppose. But I love the guy. But his message is so angry that I think that, and I'm not like calling him out for that. There's no like foul, you know. I'm not, you know, everyone's got to do where they're at. But for me, that message is so angry that it doesn't really help him at all. I can't speak for the cause because I don't know that there is a cause, but you know, I'm not going to say to him, oh, you know, you're giving Flat Earth a bad name. He's out there doing shit trying to wake people up. So, you know, even if it's clumsy or angry, at least he's doing something, right? Look at Jack the Transporter. He was an angry guy. He's an angry guy, but he did a lot for Flat Earth on the 2019 Globe Light Tour. And so, you know, it's not about that. But for me, my journey of self-growth tells me that if I keep being that angry guy, it's going to harm me, whatever it does for this game, whether it helps the game or not. Yeah, I can leave a little bit of extra artwork here. Just for shit, you don't want to see my close up like that. Just for those who are not sure what they're reading. I should give the little quotation marks there. Moon landing. Why not? You know, it's like, isn't it interesting? For me, I think that people need to come to, no, I don't think. For me, it's like if people come to truth, like I did, through material things working out to be a lie. Moon landings. Okay, it's not well written, folks. If, you know, if people can see this, then they might start to question, but yeah, why does it matter that the earth is flat? You try and talk to people about the divine. What do you mean about the divine? Try and talk to people about the money system. This is a bank, by the way, it's a building society. They might probably wash these off. It's surprising actually how little people do do think for themselves with this kind of thing. I've seen a wall here. No, that colour's not good. That colour's not very good on the wall. I need to get a different colour. I think this might be better, don't you? This yellowy one. Wow, these have been in the car through the winter, and they're not strong as they were originally. Anyway, that should do it. Let's try that. Let's see how this looks. It's not the best color. No, it's not very good. Cool. I need to improve on that. Anyway, I do hope you guys will be seeing some of you, meeting some of you, hanging out with some of you, maybe, even helping some, because I know that some of the best help that I can give is to people who are already past the gate. Did you hear my example that I gave to that chap earlier? That it's like, here's the ticket to get out of Disney, but once you've got the ticket out, what are you going to do? Because it's not like, oh, now, Walt Disney took care of all the rights for you before. Now it's not. It's not the case. One sec. Say goodbye for him. Yeah, it's not the case. It's not the case that I lost my train of thought. Anyway, I will probably end the stream shortly. Say a few goodbyes to the chat. Thank you guys for being here and all that. Is there any questions anyone has on me? Oh. So the place I'm staying at has its own gardener. A gentleman by the name of Steve. Local man. He is a bit of a history buff, actually, and I got to meet him the other day. And he likes doing metal detecting as well as studying history. And he's like, up on the hill just over there, I found a coin from the year 600 something. So the 1,000 years has been added on. Crowd would say, well, that could be 1600, right? But I said, did it have Arabic writing on it? It's like, yeah. It would have been carried by some trader from Arab lands. So the story goes, but that Anatoly Fomenko stuff that David Ewing Jr. brought to my attention, suggesting that I'm on a steep hill, by the way. If you guys are wondering why I'm panting, it's a very steep hill. Check this out. Don't know if you can get a sense of that. Look. It's a steep hill with questionable construction. Anyway, this guy, he has this coin that's either 1400 or 400 years old. The British Museum have it, and they wrote an article on it, so I'm hoping to see more about it. It'd be interesting. And I started telling him about some of the hinting at mud flood, not going full throttle at mud flood. And so we're going to go for a little walk around, and maybe I'll learn some interesting things that I can relate back to you guys at some point. Whew, this is a tall hill. Yeah. Do you is that Jen? Did you say wake up world on Glad Earth? Yeah. Electromagnetic, eh? It's all one giant electromagnetic orange. That's what I believe, and we're all in it. There might be lower and higher states of consciousness, but we're all in it. Yeah. So, we're separated as we are here, we're all actually seemingly one. I'm glad I got as far as this. I've been meaning to film that. Let me zoom in on it so you can see a bit better. How's that? Yeah. There's a whole little gated community here for this congregational church. You do see some of the strangest things. And I know in South Africa there's a big Zionist church kind of movement. What are they trying to create? Like, let's say you knew there was all these floods and cataclysms, but you wanted to, I don't know. I wrestle with this because it's, oh look, there's a window that doesn't make sense. You will see a few of these actually. I don't know if I walked past the best examples on this walk. But they're so commonplace. What does this shop remind you of? There's a flat earth character that comes to mind. What do you think? Anyway, it's nice for a woman to dress up for her man, and for a man to appreciate his woman, honor his woman. It's that's worth it. Yeah, I mean, have you guys thought that if we were to clean up our act, no, not clean up our act, if we were to electromagnetic earth, if everybody look here. Just going into this alley very quickly. Did you see the windows there? I'm sorry, but this is so hard to explain away. Yeah. Really. Let's zoom back up. Astro King. Nice to see you. It's been a while. I hope you're doing well, mate. Look at that. And then this. I think part of the cladding to create the opportunity for a new doorway. Because my suggestion is that the doorway is beneath this one by some feet. Just like that window would have, the original window would have been a full-size window. Oh yeah, so you'll notice this slab here, concrete slab, there's two of them. 1, 2. They'll be covering up a basement area beneath. How do I know that? Well, this is the neighbor's house. So, it's par for the course, my friends. Par for the course. Interesting what we learned about my speaker. Sorry about all the background noise today, guys. That was really unhelpful, I know. There you see. Can you see all the way down in there? There's a window and all of that. I mean, really. This is obviously a partial window. Another partial window. And another partial window. Underground. And there's more here. This block just happens to have partial windows. I mean, underground basements. Oh, look at this one. This is a beautiful example. It's like someone would have done this on purpose. Yeah. Did you see that? Downstairs. And downstairs. And all of this, this brickwork here will be covering the downstairs of these flats. So if you want to toss a few coins into the coffee cup, buy me a coffee, Trinity 4, what's it, PayPal, Trinity 4 man, at gmail.com, and Patreon. I am working on building on this idea of offering something more substantive for those to entice some people to support my work a little bit more frequently. But, if it's meant to be, I'm trying to have that, that kind of like, let's see, this will be a basement down below. I'm trying to have that more like, well, if it's meant to be, it will be. So these last months, we've just been putting ourselves up one day ahead of the other and just seeing what comes up. The family as well, for those who know and care about the family. Chinese balloons to take away. I believe you can buy balloons and get the government to shoot them down for you now. It's amazing how people have bought into that story. Don't you think? and they'll accept. That's a conspiracy that's acceptable. Again, coal bunker. I think not. Yeah. I'm going to say goodbye. But it's nice to see you, by the way, Keith, and you stay well and be well. Hey, Dean. If you haven't subscribed to Dean HD's channel, he gets out there and does a bit of activism. Some of it's on film, so you can check out his channel if you fancy it. Jim Lotus, how are you doing, my friend? I hope you've made it to the North Pole. I may make it to Mount Meru in Tanzania before you make it to the North Pole. Just a little challenge, friendly challenge for you there, my friend. Mount Meru, Tanzania. Just say it 1,000 times. Get Mark Sargent to repeat it 1,000 times. It's a gutter. Okay. Not seeing what I'm seeing. Oh, basement. Yeah, no, there's no basement. Maybe I just basement, bud. Floods are just basement. Yeah, I know, I've heard that a lot. And I accept that's got to be in the realm of possibility, but just the number of buildings I've been into or seen from the outside that you think, yeah, this makes no sense. And you probably don't know this channel well enough to know that I stayed in a 1600 stately home a few years ago on this journey, and for a few months, and I got to work there, just like informally, and I got to move around in the basement of this building, and it's actually got window frames facing the dirt. There is no rhyme or reason. If you were going to accept what a basement is, and I understand how to do a basement if you had to, but to put a window frame in a basement facing the rock face is people, the excuses I hear from Globers trying to explain how, like the guy did earlier, that the coastal views that I've got at 10-20 miles are a light bending. For me, I understand why people would do a basement. Don't get me wrong, I understand the logic of that. I also understand, or I have an idea of how much work is involved in creating a basement and digging into a square into the hole in the ground without being able to kind of excavate for many meters away from it to kind of create a banking, or to then excavate bigger than the footprint of the building and then shore it up, and then release the dirt back onto the wall. That stuff doesn't make sense to me. And then not to bother with permeable layers, plastics or anything like that. Just let the moisture seep in. We can build these beautiful 4 or 5 story buildings, but beneath it's all going to be damp, dank, horrible. And like I saw in Bath at the Royal Crescent, that the people who live on the first floor, who rent on the first floor, I had an encounter with a lady. She owned the first floor flat but could not access the garden because the garden was only accessible through the basement. Now, what homeowner who can afford the best address in town is going to have his servants, this is the story they tell you, the servants in the basement, and then have to, in the morning, if he wants to go out and have a quiet cup of tea or whatever, coffee, he has to go through the servants' quarters to get there. No. Too many ifs, buts, and gravities for me in that these buildings, and I've been in London 3 stories into the ground, underground, and you don't simply just build a building on top of another building and just leave all of that below there unless it's well supported. So for me, the idea that mud came through. Actually, there's a picture that I used as the original thumbnail. I didn't use this. I couldn't find the video to start the stream with that. But there was a picture of this flood. I went to a town the other day where the flood came in 1917, excuse me, came so high as to have covered hundreds of houses in the valley, that were below the level of the shop. The shop was way up on the hill there, and the water level had come to that place in that shop on the museum. If that amount of water came down, there would be a percentage of silt. Let's just say there was 10 foot of water, you would get a foot of silt. 30 foot of water, you might get 3 foot, 4 foot of silt. Now there's 100 foot of water. What are we talking about? We're talking about mud flood buildings where you've lost the bottom floor. It's as simple as that. I know it doesn't answer everything, like roofs are missing so often in the equation. Settling of sediments on the top of a hill make no sense in the traditional mud flood mindset. So, it's not like it answers all the questions, but the idea that this was done on purpose is hard to accept. And also it makes me feel like, it's a person who doesn't really want to let go of this reality of ours is very fluid. And what people talk about with Mandela effect, with the 1800s orphan trains, resetting, repopulating, all of these sorts of things. They're all part of that, and you can repopulate a place and tell the youngsters, the new arrivals, this is what you got, this is what it is, this is how it came to be like this. And they just accept it, and there's no education for these people until you've got the school system up and running to tell them exactly what it is. And then it's so disjointed that, us in this country or that country don't know what you are taught. I think I met a Polish person once doing activism. He said, we were taught that we landed on the moon, or that the Russians had landed on the moon. That's right, we were taught that in school, that the Russians had landed on the moon. Just different bits of propaganda. You won't have heard me tell the story that in the town that I grew up in and had 12 years of history, 10 years of history class, I was never told that the neighboring village or town was the site of a concentration camp in the Boer War. British concentration camp in the Boer War. That was never spoken about. And yet it was just 5 miles away. So you've got to ask yourself the question, who's controlling the media and what it is you're educated on. So that's that. I have ranted on a little bit too long about that. Wow, that guy's busy. That doesn't prove it was mud flood. Okay, alright. I'm not going to argue with you. You've heard what I have to say. My great-grandmother was a sole survivor of what? The buildings settling. Oh, come on, man. Settling. Yeah, you haven't gotten out of the house enough. With the greatest respect, I don't think you've gone enough and actually looked at this. You're wanting to make this up for yourself rather than go and look at it. That's my honest truth to you, my friend. You can't have seen. Honestly, I've seen so many of the same thing in different places, like half windows, quarter windows, bits of window, grating, and so on. It's like, so you mean all of these people in these different countries were all somehow driven to, even though they had an infinite amount of space and new towns or cities to be building in, they were deciding to break their backs and lift out millions of tons of mud, clay, hard rock or whatever. And when you do it across an entire terrace that's a quarter of a mile or half a mile long, then you have to be able to strip that entire terrace out at the same time and then refill it back in again. Only for the people 200 years later to be complaining about how they struggle to keep the water up. So no, I don't have to agree, and you don't have to agree with me, of course. But there was an example that came to mind a moment ago that I thought was useful. Not that it's going to convince you, but in Canterbury, you can go into a building, or you walk off the street, down 3 or 4 steps, and they tell you this was the street level in 1700s. And then you walk down 5 or 6 steps, this was the street level in the 1500s. The idea that things have just subsided over the years into the... Actually, I don't hear that very often from people who defend this reality. I haven't heard that one very often, so fair play to you. But I've made it back to the chariot that Simon gave us. Sure. That guy. Anyway. Martin Nika, if you're still there, give me a shout. We'll do something in Glasgow. And if you're in the Glasgow area or anything like that, then please do get in touch, because it would be awesome to meet some people, and build up a little bit of energy, because together our energy is powerful. Separated as we have been. Hey, that guy with who thinks it's a mud flood is bogus. Would you be interested in the idea that this isn't actually a physical realm? Would that be hard for you to accept, that this is not a physical realm? You may have already accepted that this is not, it is not atoms and bits of dirt, like all coalesced together. It's light and frequency and vibration. That's what it is, this world. And truly, that's what it is. And that's not, obviously, I mean, I'm not going to try and prove that to you. That's my firmly held, I'll call it a belief just for the sake of not wanting to be too forceful on this point. But I think that it's an electromagnetic world. It's all light. And so in that case, things can be altered digitally, if you like. They can be altered by a tone or a frequency or a vibration. So, is it possible that with a tone change and a frequency change, then everything alters here, such that I've even postulated that in the way that it snows, the ether could be turned to dust. And that, because the ether has the potentiality for all things. So the dust comes from a frequency change, settles on, rains dust for 3 days. Imagine that. And it doesn't run away in the way that water does. So it just piles upon itself. That's why you lose the roofs. That's why you get drifts of it. I've seen towns where it seems like snow drifts of mud that have, the windows are just more lost there, and then drifts down towards the street. Could have been dug out like that, but I think that an electromagnetic universe has incredible potential for rapid change. I always used to laugh at the guys the biblical guys who said that the Grand Canyon, which I've visited, was taken away. It was formed in a day or instantly, and now I think that that's possible. I think that's just an arc or a spark through the plate could rip it apart and expose layers of sedimentation and so on and so forth. There's a whole lot of stuff about that. So yeah, I just think that to try and be so fixed, dogmatic is probably not a word that I should use, but to be dogmatic about it having to be this material world that is unchanging belies the evidence that electromagnetism seems to be all she wrote. L being the masculine, electricity, magnetism, the feminine perhaps. The coming together inside of an ether of the electricity and magnetism, inside of an ether, inside of a container, probably, but the container could be created by the etheric expression of the electricity and magnetism. But I base that on the David LaPointe science, the primer field stuff, which I used to speak about a bit more. So it's an electromagnetic universe, and honestly, it's hard for me to really wrap my head around that. And even I've been talking about and thinking about it for some years, but to present yourself in the world like you're not really this material meat suit, this is just a representation of your electromagnetic signature. To present yourself like that takes really a lot of still time. I think that's why dudes like Jesus spent 30 days in the caves. Because you really need to have that kind of Zen time. It's funny though, isn't it? Hey, like the guys who spent all their time doing the spiritual stuff, the Zen stuff. No, I'm generalizing, but they really struggle to hear this truth stuff. And then us guys who find the truth easier to digest struggle more with the Zen stuff. Apparently I have a yin-yang constitution, which that's another conversation, but that may or may not be true either. But I do feel like I have the possibility for neutrality and balance in this game. I'm working on that, and it would be my encouragement to invite you to work on that too. Yeah. Doesn't look like anyone else is talking except the guy who's got verbal diarrhea about is that or not? Is that the guy with the mud flag guy? We are okay. I can't really, but I have enjoyed it, and I will do it again in the not too distant future. Be well, friends, and one love, and stay flat, as they say.